Welcome, welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. This is kind of an emergency episode in light of the latest development sa ating mga senador, hindi chinador. I just saw kanina binabanatan yung article ni Ronald Llamas about so-called chinadors. So I thought it's perfect to bring a legal luminary who perhaps knows a thing or two about international law, particularly United Nations Convention law of the Sea, and perhaps may know something about the legal luminary analysis of Senator Marcoleta. Thank you very much, Justice Carpio, for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, Richard. Thank you for inviting me again.
Thank you, Justice. I know it must have been a tiring past 48 hours explaining to the world. So, I think we discussed kung legal luminary ba si Marcoleta or hindi on a domestic level. From an on-clause international point of view, how credible a lawyer is Marcoleta? Or does he even understand what are the implications of exclusive economic zone? And also, what do you make of etong statement niya na i-give up na lang natin ng KIG para wala nang gulo basically? Kasi mag-World War III na naman tayo, mga ganyan klaseng mga hanash, to put it nicely.
Uh, let's start from the beginning. Sabi niya, Marcoleta said that there is no such thing as a West Philippine Sea.
When he was a congressman, he just said the other year. Yes, when he was a
Yeah,
congressman pa.
yeah. And even lately, he said that there is no such thing as a West Philippine Sea. But when he was a congressman, he was a member of Congress. The Congress passed a law that approved uh, unanimously. There was no vote against, no abstention, about 172 votes in the House when he was a member of the House in favor of Republic Act 12064. That's the Maritime Zones Act of the Philippines, Philippine Maritime Zones Act. So it was unanimously approved, no dissent, no abstention in the House. When it came to the Senate, the same thing. It was unanimously approved. There was no dissent, about 15 votes. And in that Philippine Maritime Zones Act, there is a definition of the West Philippine Sea. And he should know it because he was a member of Congress at the time. Although I look at the list of those who voted yes, I could not find his name. So, and nobody voted against, nobody abstained. So he must have been absent during the voting.
Literally wala siya. I mean like, oh, so
So,
he missed the briefing. Baka hindi niya naintindihan talaga ng ibig
yeah,
sabihin.
probably he did not read the law that the bill, but the bill became a law passed by the Congress. No, I think that was the 14th Congress, and there is a definition of West Philippine Sea. The West Philippine Sea refers to our maritime zones uh, in the western side of the Philippines, and it includes the maritime features of our islands in the Calayan Island group. So wherever those islands are, whether they're within the exclusive economic zone or outside, they're part of the West Philippine Sea by definition in the law, including the maritime features of our islands in the Calayan Island group. And there are about 4 islands in the Calayan Island group that are outside the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. So the definition is complete. The West Philippine Sea is not the same as the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. It's larger. And that is where his mistake is because he equates the West Philippine Sea to our maritime zone, uh, our exclusive economic zone in the western side of the Philippines. So doon pa lang mali na siya because there is actually a legal definition of the West Philippine Sea, no? And it was his Congress when he was a member of that Congress that approved it. So, doon
Yeah,
pa
but he
lang,
was absent. So, is that an excuse for him not to check his notes? Ito yung mga absent na
uh,
estudyante, pero ang daldal, di ba may ganun, Justice? Both of us have thought, di ba? Meron kang mga estudyante na absent, tapos nung next meeting, ang daming dakdak. Kahit di siya nag-aral at absent siya. Parang may pagkaganon siya eh. Kung sino pang absent, yung pa yung ang daming opinion.
and there's a second thing. Sabi niya, uh, we cannot have, we cannot claim the West Philippine Sea because we do not have geographical coordinates. Uh, the So sabi niya, kailangan may geographical coordinates. Otherwise, it's just a baseless claim. But UNCLOS itself does not require geographical coordinates. Nakalagay sa UNCLOS, the uh, coastal state has an inherent right to a continental shelf by the mere fact that it is a sovereign state. When you are a sovereign state and you have a coast, automatically you have a right to the continental shelf.
Land dominates the sea.
Land dominates the sea. That's the principle. So, nakalagay doon, you can exercise your rights over the continental shelf without need of any occupation, actual or notional, or any express proclamation. You don't have to proclaim it even. So when it says without need of occupation, actual, I mean physical, you put up uh, structure there, or notional. You just put it in a map coordinates, that's it. That's notional. So klarong-klaro, there is no need. You don't have to actually occupy it or even notionally occupy it. You notionally occupy, kasi pag sinabi, if it says actual, that's tangible occupation. If it's notional, it's intangible occupation. So you just put there the coordinates. Hindi kailangan. He is the only one requiring it. It's not in the law. So, and in fact,
He's a legal
China
luminary
has
kasi,
no
Justice Garfield, thank you.
China has no fixed coordinates in its 9 or 10 dash line, but it's requiring us to have coordinates before it can be recognized. Well, that's not the law. That's not the UNCLOS. If you read it carefully, or even if you just glance at it, that's not the law. So, yun dalawa na yun. Those are the two things. Because he has challenged me to debate
Ay,
this, which is recently. So
can
sabi
I
ko, okay,
moderate that?
yeah, I will suggest you moderate it. uh, the
He can
so I
bring his
said, okay,
moderator, siguro si Attorney Gucci, tapos ako naman on your side, Justice, para lang fair yung dalawang moderator. Would you be okay with that?
we'll have two moderators. So it's so I said, okay, we can. I accept your challenge on this debate. The topic will be: is there legally a definition of the West Philippine Sea, and if so, uh, are the maritime features of the Calayan Island Group part of the West Philippine Sea? So yun lang, because those are the things that he keeps on denying, no?
Justice, I know na yung isang episode natin talking about legal luminaries, medyo we had to modify a bit in light of your being diplomatic. But may I ask you, when it comes to UNCLOS and international law, is Marcoleta a legal luminary? Is he an expert on international law? Is he a recognized specialist on UNCLOS?
Well, he should be, because the Republic Act 12064, the Philippine Maritime Zones Act, was debated in Congress when he was a congressman.
And when he
I
was
mean,
absent,
but I hope he was not absent all of the time.
but he was absent when the vote came, weirdly. Ilan kayang hindi bumoto? Baka we can do a regression analysis. Lahat ng
No,
mga hindi bumoto, baka may pagka.
well, there were 172 who voted yes, zero voted against, zero abstained. So
Pero one absent.
There were, well, many were absent because 172 lang ang boto eh. So and no abstention. There are about 300 of them, no? So, but there was a quorum because it was 172. I think the quorum is about 160. So, and when it came to the Senate, nobody dissented. Also, nobody voted again. And when it was questioned in the Supreme Court, it was also unanimous. So it was unanimous in the House, unanimous in the Senate, and unanimous in the Supreme Court. Ngayon, sinasabi niya, ano raw, mali raw yung batas. I mean,
Kaya nga, I mean, where does he get this sense of authority? Kasi, just as I met also the new Chinese ambassador, I know he also met the Chinese ambassador, although he was very proud to post it. Ako mamaya ko pa i-post. But, I mean, in my interaction with our Chinese counterparts, including the ambassador, I've been very clear. Like, this is our understanding of international law, and we're gonna stick with it. Do you think baka he got a briefing from China, a different school of thought, legal? Baka nagkaroon na siya ng certificate na Chinese on-clause legal studies? Nag-online course ba siya with the Chinese institutions?
and even, ang issue doon sa, sa Magallona versus Ermita, UNCLOS says your your archipelagic baselines must follow the general direction of the archipelago. No? And there is a requirement that your archipelagic baselines cannot be more than 100 nautical miles, but 3% can be up to 125 nautical miles. So, so in other words, dikit yan along the coast halos, no? So, sabi niya, because I wrote the decision on Magallona versus Ermita, I gave up raw our territory that between the Treaty of Paris lines and the uh, the archipelagic baselines that was approved unanimously by the court. We lost daw, I don't know, mga 120,000 hectares or whatever of water, of territory. Eh lahat na ito, tubig ito. It's not land. So that should be considered our territory. Sabi niya, our territory should be the islands within the Treaty of Paris lines, as well as all the waters within the Treaty of Paris lines. If you include all the waters, you will be including the high seas. There are portions there within the treaty lines that are high seas. You would be including the exclusive economic zone as our territory. And the exclusive economic zone, it's not territory, it's a territorial sea because we have only sovereign rights. We don't have sovereignty. We have the territorial sea is only 12 nautical miles from the baselines. That's uh, that's UNCLOS. So if you want to claim, parang nine-dash line yan eh. In fact, uh, when we went to The Hague, one of the judges asked, you are questioning China's nine-dash line, but you have an equivalent uh, Treaty of Paris lines, which is as bad as the nine-dash line, which is not justified under UNCLOS, just like the nine-dash line. So we said, oh, we already amended that by Republic Act 9522, and it was unanimously approved by the court. So in other words, if we did not amend the uh, the old law on our baselines, they will dismiss our case because there's a principle of law which says he who comes to court must come with clean hands. So we go to the court and say China violated UNCLOS when we ourselves would be violating UNCLOS if we considered the Treaty of Paris lines as enclosing our territorial waters. No, so if we did not amend that, if the Supreme Court did not approve it, ang mangyari yan, the tribunal would have dismissed our case.
What about yung argument ng intertemporality? I know this was dismissed, but that was the Chinese line, no? Na these principles of international law were crystallized prior to the promulgation of the UNCLOS and its ratification, but it doesn't retrospectively get rid of that. Is that the kind of a Marcoleta school of thought na parang
Yeah, well,
is he an expert on pre-UNCLOS international law?
the doctrine of uh, intertemporal law, it means that if you have a treaty uh, in the 1700s, and under that treaty, discovery alone is sufficient to vest title. But later on, international law developed and said discovery alone is not sufficient. You must have uh, occupation. You just don't discover it. So what you will do is, if you're deciding on a 1700 situation, the event occurred in the 1700s, you will apply that old law. You will not apply the law that was developed after several decades. In other words, the rights and obligations of a state uh, arising from a treaty must be decided based on the law existing at the time the treaty was signed or the dispute arose. But it cannot be decided based on the law at the time the case was filed or decided. No, so that is the which is fair, because you have to look at the law at the time the events occurred, not the law
Yeah,
now, no? Kasi nagbabago 'yan eh.
nagbabago yan,
So,
exactly.
mm, and that is why uh, uh, the old theory before the Islas Palmas case, because the Islas Palmas case was about an island of the coast of Mindanao that it was claimed by Spain by discovery. But the Dutch in Indonesia went there, and then the inhabitants there pledged allegiance to the Dutch. So there were two claimants. The first to discover, but who never went there again. Spain discovered it, but never went back again. Never conducted any activity there. The Dutch were the second to discover that, but the locals pledged allegiance to the Netherlands, signed the treaty, and recognized Netherlands as their sovereign. And the question was, who has sovereignty over Islas Palmas? And the arbiter Mark Schuber said it's the Netherlands, because mere discovery is not enough. Nag-develop yung law eh. But before that case, discovery was enough.
So you have to have
So
continuous and effective exercise of sovereignty.
yes,
But
yeah,
Justice, that was at the ICJ, right? Like basically both sides agreed to take this case. But it's not like China is open to take our case to international court at all.
yeah. Well,
That's the big
that's a
difference here.
problem.
Big
Yeah,
difference.
yeah. Of course, we will invite China, but China will not accept because they know they will lose. Absolutely, China has no chance of winning if this is submitted to arbitration. We have especially Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys, we have so much evidence. China came in only in 1947. We've been there 1734. So talagang walang pag-asa yung China. So they will never agree to arbitration. Unfortunately, there is no treaty or convention requiring China to submit compulsorily to arbitration. Unlike maritime dispute like UNCLOS, whether they appear or not, they will be bound
Oh.
because they are a party to the convention.
And
But
it's
there is
not
no,
about territorial claims, it's about the maritime entitlement.
yes, maritime lang.
But
So
speaking of maritime and time, sorry, Justice, I'm cutting you because I want people to appreciate the significance or insignificance of what Mark. So Marcoleta is implying that pag nasa loob lang ng EEZ mo, parang meron kang medyo claim dyan. Well, by that logic, first of all, gaano siya kaingay on Scarborough Shoal? Because Scarborough Shoal is a rock, it's a territory, it's within our EEZ. I'm not sure gaano siya kaingay on Scarborough Shoal in terms of what China is doing. But more importantly, gaano kalayo ang Calayan group of islands from Hainan, which is China's southernmost islands? Because if you want to use that argument of EEZ, which of course is the wrong argument because it has nothing to do with territorial claim. But even by that logic, then China has even less reason to claim KIG, right? Kasi napakalayo ng Hainan which is their
no,
most recognized southern territory, even in their own Selden maps and in the Selden map and all cartographic
yeah,
evidence.
that's right. It, China is just so far away, no. Uh, but it's accepted that within the exclusive economic zone, 200 nautical mile, there may be islands that belong to another state. Madami yan. So many examples. So, okay, they want to claim Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys. Let's submit it to arbitration. And I'm sure we will win, just like in the maritime case. Because we have so many activities we can prove so many activities that took place with respect to these islands. Yung 1800, the Spaniards already conducted a depth sounding of Scarborough Shoal. It's in the 1808 map, which is the second official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. The first map of China showing Scarborough Shoal was 1947 in the nine dash line, and there is even no name. They just put Scarborough as a dot, but without any name. And they keep on saying they were the first to name these islands. Tayo, 1734, we called it already Panakot. And then Scarborough Shoal, Baho de Masinloc. Ang dami ng pangalan. China gave it a name sometime in the 1950s. Napaka-late nila.
But I want to again raise another question because there's not an implied argument. Nung panahon na Espanyol, colonial lang naman kayo at saka ano lang naman kayo ng mga Western power, so hindi kayo legit na country. I mean, that logic for me is very problematic because the modern nation state of China also is not necessarily the same as the Manchu controlled Qing dynasty. I mean, you can make also an argument that China is also a modern entity. There was no such thing as a Chinese nation state legally speaking. I would even say culture and legally and politically speaking, also during the time that we were colonies of Spain and US. Kasi minsan ganun yung implication, Justice, na we had Admiral Zhang He, who by the way is not really Chinese, he was Persian speaking, whatever. Admiral Zhang He came
He was
there,
a
kaming
eunuch.
nauna, kayo barbarians lang kayo, kami yung civilized, therefore, may ganun mayroon silang ganun na colonialist mindset
Yeah, but that's not a legal principle. That's the uh, argument of a man in the street, no, who has no knowledge of
But
the law.
but that's not proudly served. The man on the street pretending to be legal luminaries. Come on, Justice, let's be honest. We're being ang problema ko, parang pinampatulan natin yung argument. But really, their argument is a man of the street argument, man of the Beijing street argument, not man of the Tondo street argument.
Well, it's accepted in international law that the colonial power was acting for the state that eventually arose, no. So remember uh, the uh, the one of Diego Garcia, that island there that
In the Indian
the
Ocean.
British separated from Mauritius before Mauritius became independent. They separated it and gave listed to the Americans. The ICJ said, in an opinion, you cannot separate. You have to keep intact the colony for the state that will arise out of that. You don't have a right to chop the your colony, and so even if there was no state yet, because the colonial power already created a territory for a for a definite political entity and population that cannot be separated anymore unless the people there vote to split, no? So
Yeah.
wala yung argument na yan na hindi naman kayo state, no? So that doesn't fly.
Unless
It
you're the
would
man
be
of the Peking Street. Usapan, let's go to man of the Peking Street kind of discussion. Ang tawag ko dyan, Justice Carpio, barangay geopolitics, all right? Um, which Tatay Digong, the OG, nasaan siya? Oh, he's there in The Hague. Actually, co-cover ko siya in The Hague. Kaya nga nandito pa ako sa Europe. I'm gonna go to The Hague. Shout out sa mga ka-DDS natin. No, Justice, patulan natin to. So obviously, hindi legal luminary si Marcoleta on on-clause. Maybe pre-on-clause legal luminary, but maybe 100 years behind. May pagka-enrile yung argument niya, no? But anyway, let's talk about the geopolitics. Ano yung sinasabi niya na give up na natin para wala ng giyera? Where is this coming from? Kasi last time I checked, China is not priming to go to war with anyone, including the Taiwanese. I know there's purges inside, there's so much happening inside China, but I don't see any indication. So, saan galing itong idea na, ay, give up na natin kasi gigiyerahin tayo ng China? I used to hear that from Digong, who to
yeah,
be
that's exactly.
but
That's
but to
Digong.
be nice, like Digong had zero idea about how the world works. I don't know how many countries he studied and visited while he was mayor of Davao. No offense, but he was not necessarily a very subtle, sophisticated geopolitical thinker. So, where is this? Is this Digong school of thought, barangay geopolitics?
Well, remember what Digong said. Let us, we cannot fight China. China is a superpower. There will be a massacre. So let us just ask mercy from China and hope they will not hurt us so much. I mean, if that is that's capitulation actually. I mean, without the firing a single shot, Duterte capitulated. And that is Marcoleta. Ibigay na lang natin dahil matalo tayo. But if China said, okay, we will get the entire Philippines, if you apply the same argument, that means we give up the entire Philippines to China because we never we don't have atomic weapons.
Parang ano yun,
So if
Russian eh.
that
Parang
kind of
first you get
argument,
Donetsk and then you get Ukraine and then parang ganun eh. You can keep on getting more kasi China doesn't feel
yeah,
comfortable
if,
eh. Mga ganun.
yeah. So if that is your argument, di mag-surrender na tayo, alis na tayo sa
No,
Pilipinas,
that's what
give it
Justice Carpet, di
to
ba sabi
China.
ni Digong, let's be a province of China, Fujian, parang will be a sub-region of Fujian. We're not gonna be
Yeah.
even an independent state, like sub-province tayo ng Fujian. That's what he said.
What that means really, if you cannot match the firepower of your neighbor, you just submit yourself and be colonized by your neighbor. Yun ang sinasabi nila. That boils down to that. Because we don't have the firepower to fight them, let's just surrender right away. Para tapos na, wala na tayong problema, surrender na lang tayo. That is exactly the meaning of what Marcoleta is saying. Matatalo tayo, surrender na tayo.
Parang sinasabi rin ni Robin Hood Padilla yan. like, I did a poll, who's the worst ever senator? Talo pa si Robin Hood. I mean, this is, talo pa si Bato. I'm quite impressed with our legal luminary. No, but Justice, how dangerous is this kind of, let's just call it for what it is, defeatist mindset, which is give up na natin kasi maliit lang tayo. Like last time I checked, mas maliit ang Taiwan sa atin. Like 20 million lang yatang Taiwan, 25, 30 million lang. They're much closer. They're directly claimed by China. And yet, I didn't see the Taiwanese saying, ano, give up na tayo kasi susugurin tayo. I don't know where is this mindset coming from. How is it even normal for a senator of the republic to openly say things like that?
Well, that's why uh, we should explain to the people that please do not vote people who talk this way. Dahil ibenta tayo niyan, Digong, he said to our Navy publicly, it's reported in the papers, do not patrol beyond the territorial sea. Hanggang territorial sea lang kayo. So he said, gini-give up na namin yung exclusive economic zone. Beyond 12 nautical mile lang tayo. He was saying it to our Navy. So I asked the Navy officers, are you complying with that directive? Sir, we're not. Unless we see a written order. Ayaw naman niya, he didn't want to put it in writing. Duterte didn't
Kasi
want
he's
to
a
put
lawyer,
it
he
in
knows
writing.
na iyayarin siya mamaya.
So, I don't know where this is coming. Why are they giving up Philippine territory? That's the most important. You are the commander-in-chief. The president is the commander-in-chief. And your duty is to defend the territory, the territorial integrity of the state. Ikaw una nagsasabi, it will be a massacre, give up na tayo.
Suicide mission daw, sabi niya. I remember what Duterte said back in the day. Those were traumatic days, kaya bumalik yung PTSD natin nung narinig natin, yan na naman tayo, back to zero na naman tayo. But Justice, I mean, um, should we really worry about China engaging in aggressive military action? Kasi naalala ko nung isang beses na sabi ni Digong, I think was it fourth meeting niya with Xi Jinping, if not fifth meeting niya. Kasi sa officially fifth meeting niya, Xi Jinping pinagalitan niya ang Pilipinas kasi ang dami daw Pogo. Kasi against Pogo ang China, di ba? But interesting,
Uh,
dun sa fourth or third meeting, sabi ni Digong, pag i-raise ko ang arbitration, gigirahin tayo ng China. And then na-clarify ng China, ay hindi kami magigera, we're a peaceful rising country. So may times na pinapahiya pa niya yung China and China is trying to say, I'm a peaceful rising country. Anong sinasabi mo nagigirahin ko kayo? Isn't this even bad for China? It makes China look like a Russia, Putin-style aggressive power.
well, China has the three warfare strategy, official, approved by uh, the Politburo,
It's
they
a doctrine.
approved by the Central Military Commission, by the party. First warfare, an overall theme of the three warfares is they will win the South China Sea without firing a shot. How? By propaganda. That's the first warfare. Propaganda. Uh, they will influence public opinion in the Philippines, for example. So ginagawa nila yan. They have people here who echo the Chinese line na they own the South China Sea since 2,000 years ago. Talo kayo, mamamatay kayo, massacre kayo, wag na lang kayo lumaban, give up na lang. That is the propaganda line. The second is the intimidation. Papakita nila they have the largest naval fleet in the world, the largest submarine fleet in the world. They have air and naval bases in the Spratlys. Wala kayong laban. Give up na lang kayo. Intimidation in the sea, binobomba
Psychop.
tayo ng tubig, no? So water cannon. And the third is really their legal. Sabi nila, they predated UNCLOS. Yung sinasabi mo, intertemporal law. We
Yeah.
predated UNCLOS. We were the first to discover the islands, the first to exploit, the first to name. Hindi naman totoo. Kasi that's why I presented all the dynasty maps of China. Up to 1912, from the earliest map of China to 1912, they never showed the Spratlys or the Paracel as part of Chinese territory. Hainan was always the southernmost territory of China in all their dynasty maps. So niloloko tayo na dumaan daw dito si Zheng He twice sa Manila Bay. Sabi nga when Prenzi visited us, he had this uh, opinion article in the two papers, no? Philippine Star and I think it was Bulletin. Sinasabi niya, Zheng He was here uh, long before Magellan arrived. So sabi niya, nauna. But I presented the historical documents of China on the voyages of Zheng He. Zheng He never visited the Philippines because he had to, when he went from China, he had to hug the coastline. You cannot go
Venture
uh,
out further, yeah.
to 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 the Middle East by you going through the Spratlys, you will hit the rock. So you have to hug the coastline. They pass through Vietnam to uh, Malaysia and out in the uh, Singapore Strait. No, they never visited, and that is in their books that Zheng He never visited the Philippines. Pero sinasabi nila, Zheng He came before Magellan. Just to say that nauna sila. They're revising. There is
But
a Zheng
that's
He.
ridiculous history. Just I mean, by that logic, if Kublai, I don't know, Genghis Khan's son were in Russia 600 years ago, they should claim Russia now. It doesn't make sense. Even Genghis was not even Chinese. He was a Persian-speaking Central Asian who probably looked more like me than the Chinese. I mean, it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. I don't know where
Zheng He
this is
was a
coming from.
Muslim.
He was a
Zheng He was a
Persian-speaking
Muslim.
Muslim from Central Asia. He was enslaved by the
Yeah,
Chinese.
he was a
He
slave.
was
He was a
exactly.
eunuch slave.
He
Yeah.
was a Yunus and he worked with the Arabs and the Muslims. Kaya nga he was able to go through the Indian Ocean. Like it's crazy revisionism. And in fact, yung statue niya, they make him look Chinese when he didn't look Chinese at all. As I said, he probably looked more like me than your average Chinese. So it's total fake news. It's fake history. It's fake news.
There is a Zheng He society in many countries, and there's one in Singapore. They publish a book. And in that book, there were several articles. And one of the articles said, did Zheng He visit the Philippines? I said, no. They showed the route. He never visited the
Yeah,
Philippines. But
navigationally malabo. Yeah.
when President Z came here, they published one-page ads that Zheng He was here.
No, this is why I know a lot about yung Chinese historical Mickey Mouse business. There was this incident whereby parang a Chinese delegation went to Egypt and they came back during Mao, no? And they talk about, oh, we saw this pyramid from 5,000 years ago, something like that. And then, sa sobrang impressed ni Mao, sabi niya, go and find me evidence that China is also 5,000 years old. Like, ganyan sila, Justice. They will literally make up stuff. And I said, literally, China comes from Qin, who's barely 2,000 years old, right? Like, you go to the Great Wall. I'm sorry, no offense, it's great, but it's nothing compared to Persepolis, to pyramids, like 4, 5, 6, 7,000 years old monuments you'll see in the Middle East and other parts of the world. But may ganyan silang tendency, the Mickey Mouse history, and then they try to translate that into geopolitics.
Yeah, there is this Chinese admiral. He said, South China Sea, by the name alone, it's ours. South China
So
Sea.
Indian Ocean is India's and Persian Gulf
Yeah,
is
and
Iran. I
then
mean,
even
it's
the name
ridiculous.
China was invented by the Persians and the Indians. China
Exactly.
comes from, yet that was coined by outsiders, by foreigners.
Marco Polo
China
spoke
never called
Persian when he
itself
was in the
during,
Kublai Khan's court. I mean, that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like, this is all fake news.
during the entire Chinese dynasty, the Chinese dynasties never called the country China. They called themselves the Middle Kingdom, Zhengzhou, something like that.
But the
Never
Persians
China.
called them
It was the
Qing.
Persians and the Indians. You can find it in the Sanskrit.
Yeah, Ashoka, probably Ashoka Empire and the Sassanids and the
Yeah, they
Parthians,
called.
right? Yeah.
So if you follow their logic, since it's called South China Sea belongs to China, so China itself belongs to India and the Persians.
Yeah, like yeah, when the Mongolian ex-president posted about yung Putin saying, di ba remember Putin had this on the parang on the union of Ukraine and Russia, yung may long ano siya essay siyang Mickey Mouse about Ukraine belongs to Russia, and then he posted this picture of parang from Ulaanbaatar all the way to Lithuania and said, maybe we should reclaim also our history. Sabi ko, mahabang usapan to, igalaw yung baso. Like, that's one problem, eh. Like, China will make that argument. They will make that. That's in their interest. Ang hindi ko maintindihan, why would our senators make those or our people make those argument in behalf of China or kunyari in behalf of truth, right? Kasi kung in behalf of truth, ba't wala silang sinasabi about, I mean, na questionable din yung claims ng China. Parati nila kinu-question yung claim natin, pero hindi yung claim ng China. Or kini-claim, oh, bakit yung Vietnam, ganyan-ganyan. Pero hindi like, may technical term dyan, motivated reasoning. What's going on there, Justice?
Well, I'll be frank about it. It's either out of ignorance or because you were paid to say it.
Or maybe both, no? Because you're ignorant, we're not talking about senators, by the way. We're just saying in general, no? Yung mga nag-spread ng misinformation, no? Baka naman. Let's end on this note. Baka madulas na tayo kasi may nagsabi legal Illuminati, hindi na legal luminary. Justice, so we just had the arrest of ito si Budots kanina. And people are asking, okay,
Who was arrested?
that's Robin Padilla. De Bong Revilla. Yung kanina, 'di ba, this morning, Bong Revilla. Bong Revilla,
Okay.
Senator Bong Revilla, right? So, na-arrest na siya and all of that. Alam ko bati si uh anyway, si Diwata, bati si Diwata yata na-arrest, but ibang issue yan. Going back to this justice, where are we in terms of our expectation on the ombudsman, on the ICI and all of that? Are we still expecting something big in terms of certain senators, sitting senators, not ex-senators? Well, we're not talking about Marcoleta, by the way. We're talking about some other.
Yeah, they're still. I think they're waiting for the warrants of arrest. They filed some of the cases already, so they're waiting uh, the action from the Sandigan Bayan where they file the cases, because it will be the Sandigan Bayan that will issue the warrants of arrest. No.
I'll just keep it there. Justice Carr, para lang hindi na sabihin si Marcoleta lang tinitopic namin. Obviously, we're talking about J and J, and tumaas ang kilay ko bigla. There's lots to discuss on that note. Thank you very much, Justice Carpio, for this. Na-miss ko to, Justice Carpio, yung bumabalik tayo sa mga West Philippine Sea bardagulan natin. The things we had to deal with during Digong. I mean, now people realize alam ko lahat ngayon impressed na impressed kay Sir Ronald dahil sa kanyang tsinador. Pero habang si Ronald ay nasa underground nung panahon ni Digong, kami nila Justice Carpio ay nabubugbog on this issue. But so, thank you so much, Justice, for reminding
Okay.
everyone what we were fighting against all those years. And tuloy-tuloy lang ang laban. God bless Justice Carpio, and hopefully, let's have the debate. Si Attorney Falsis nag-comment na rin. Sabi ko, mag-moderate tayo with Attorney Gucci. And the rest of the gang para masayang
Yeah.
debate to. Salamat, Justice. God bless.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Thank you to our viewers.